Hey guys, Squatch here. So moving forward in our Dillon XL750 9mm series, we're on to the Taper Crimp die right here. So this die is going to go into station number 5. So I'm going to go ahead and get that die started in there, a few threads, but I wanted to show you something for illustration purposes. The reason that we do a taper crimp is so that we remove the bell or the case expansion that we put on in station 2 that allowed us to seat our bullet without shaving off any of that coating. The reason why we need to taper crimp that is so that the case will headspace correctly on the case mouth. Now to illustrate this, this is the dummy round that we're bringing in from last video, and it has not been crimped yet, but I can still feel there's some of the case bell present onto the cartridge. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in a case gauge. And I want you guys to take a look at this. It's not sub-flush or even flush. Now, if I force it in there like so, it doesn't come out. So we need to remedy that with proper taper crimp die adjustment. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the brass locator button right there so I have access to station number 5 on my shell plate. And I'm going to take our dummy round that's been following us around this video series, and I'm going to place it into station 5 on the shell plate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this case up into the die, and I'm going to start hand tightening this until I feel it engage on the case mount. And you will notice that you'll start to get some drag, and what I'm doing is I'm just kind of shimmying the die a little bit to get that to turn until I cannot get it to turn anymore by hand. And right about there, I've taken out all the slop in the die, and I'm fully encompassing that case mouth or that bell that we put on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the ram down, getting the case out of the die. And I'm going to start off with a very small adjustment, probably about a 1/16 to an 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and make that turn, and I'm going to run the case back up into the die. Now at this point I'm going to go ahead and throw my lock ring down just so it touches the top of the tool holder, and then I'm going to pull this case out. And the first thing I'm going to do is visually look and do some feeling. And I can feel that I still have quite a bit of bell to overcome there, so I'm going to stick it back in and go ahead and make about another 1/16 or so on my die. Make sure I have that lock ring down again, and that feels pretty good. The first thing I'm going to do is grab my case gauge, make sure that it falls in and falls out, so you can see that it's not falling out. So we still have a little bit more adjustment to make. I'm going to check that dimensionally, and I'm at 381. Now a good rule of thumb that I go by is I try to shoot for between 377 and 379-ish because we have some variability in our cases because we're using mixed head stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and make another 1/16 or so adjustment to the die, and then run it back up in. And we're going to check it again. And I'm going to check it again in my case gauge. Dropped in, still a little sticky. I must not have got too aggressive with my adjustment there. Yeah, because I am still right there at 380. So I'm going to go. Okay, so we got to make a small adjustment here to get that to fall out freely of our case gauge. We were shooting for about 377 to 379-ish on our measurement. So we're going to stick it in the die. I'm going to go ahead and turn that another 1/16 or so, and then we're going to check it. So the first thing we're going to do is check it in our case gauge like so. Dropped in nice, very flush. It's falling out of our case gauge. And then dimensionally, I am right there at 378 on the money. So we are going to call that good. And again, we'll have to monitor this a little bit as we run through it, but that is good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this case back up into the die. That way I can tighten up my lock ring. We'll call that good. And sometimes you will have to remove this back pin out of your Dillon here, so you can get your wrench on there and get that nice and tight. And we're going to call that good. So let's go ahead and double check it one more time. In our case gauge, looks good. Dimensionally, we're right there. Overall length has not changed, so we've got everything set correctly. So let's run one completely through and double check it again. All right, I want to confirm everything one more time before we move on. We've got a new size case here, and we're going to insert a bullet, running it around to our crimping operation. All right, we're going to confirm a couple things. One, our overall length hasn't changed. It's right there. We're at it set. Dimensionally, on our crimp, right there at 378. And it should fall into our case gauge and fall out like so. So that die is ready to go. All right, guys, that's going to wrap this video up. Again, we just established our taper crimp, got our taper crimp die set up. And in the next video, we are going to start working on getting this powder measure dialed in. And we're just one step closer to making completed rounds here on our Dillon XL750. After we get that done, we're going to circle back, get this powder cop set up for those of you that want to run those. And then we're going to wrap this series up again here in a few weeks. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on my email, squatchreloading@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at squatchreloading as well. If you guys want to help support the channel, find us patreon.com/squatchreloading. And if you like these videos, you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, click on the bell for notifications so you stay up to date on everything that we have coming up here in the future, which we have some good stuff coming, and we'll get into that at some other point. But thanks for watching, and until next time, guys, God bless.